You know, when I look around at all the entrepreneurs who are grinding it out, spending 70 to 80 hours per week growing their business, you have to ask yourself the question, at what cost? Hi, my name's Tim Uchuk, and in this podcast, we're going to be exploring the tools, tactics, and strategies for crushing it and scaling your business without making the ultimate sacrifice of your time and freedom. Hey, what's up, guys? Tim Uchuk here, coming to you during a travel week. It's been a while since I have traveled for work, so my head's just coming up after a marathon set of meetings here today. I've got a couple days and then heading back to the island, so I thought I would hop on here before heading in for the evening, and I wanted to talk to you about a theme called Beginner's Mind, and it's related to one of my favorite things to do I love visiting other shops, other businesses, and specifically, I really like visiting businesses that have good lean manufacturing practices. And what I mean by that, and by the way, if you're not in manufacturing, this really doesn't matter. Lean applies to, software, healthcare, professional services. What it is the elimination of waste by just working smarter every single day, getting a little bit better. That's what I'm talking about. It's just a set of principles that can apply to any set of teams. But getting back to Beginner's Mind, this is related to when I'm looking at a place, you have the benefit of, and why I like to visit other shops, is you have the benefit of kind of getting out of your own environment and seeing something for the first time. So I love that. It gives me some fresh ideas. And so because I haven't been to my own specific workspace in a few months, I've got the luxury of Beginner's Mind, seeing some of the changes. And there's a couple things that kind of run through my mind when I am touring a place. The first is this kind of scenario that I run through, and I pretend that I am or I'm with one of my kids. So let's say my 7-year-old kid. And I ask myself, would my kid, as we're walking, could be an office space, could be a shop, could my kid tell me where things belong? So, for example, having things properly labeled, having inventory triggers being very visually managed, right? With triggers in terms of when things need to be reordered. That's why I love, we have like green, yellow, red triggers that indicate anybody walking by could tell you, hey, we're running out of this material or this part, time to reorder. So is it obvious enough, and my 7-year-old can read, could he tell me the areas that we need to reorder? Is it that obvious to a 7-year-old, in other words, abnormalities as we're walking around? So that's number one, is the beginner's mind, looking around. And if we're talking about repair or production or something like that, is it clear whether he's looking on a computer or we're looking at like a production board on the wall? Could he tell me what jobs are in process? Could he tell me who's responsible for what jobs? Could he tell me any abnormalities in terms of what jobs are ahead or behind? If so, by how much? Could a beginner's mind of a 7-year-old tell me all of these things? And if you view continuous improvement, visual management, all these things on a spectrum, the closer you can get to having somebody with beginner's mind, we're talking learning curve here, right? Understand a situation as quickly as possible. That's what you want to achieve. That's the direction that we want to move towards, is that beginner's mind and having that ability to just really shorten that learning curve. And that's why I love visual management so much, is we use visuals to make things really, really intuitive. Green, yellow, red, for example, is really useful for that specifically. Now, the second piece is, in addition to beginner's mind, is something that I refer to as, you probably heard of, signal to noise. Signal to noise. And signal to noise ratio, couple analogies. Analogy number one is, I've talked about this a few times, FM radio station. So you're driving down an old country dirt road and you hear nothing but static. That's a low signal to noise, meaning that there's a lot of noise relative to the signal. Signal's the good stuff that you want. Noise is the static, the distraction. So using the same analogy to a visual environment, we want to, when you're looking at a workspace, and again, this really applies especially to the digital environment. You look at like tab overwhelm, and you've got, tabs open all over the place. You've got this mile-long to-do list in front of you, all this stuff open. It's a lot of noise, right? And you've got noise on your desk. You've got noise on the walls. And the thing that happens is if you have an environment which has really bad or low signal to noise, and your team starts to normalize that, then nothing, you kind of learn to not pay attention to anything, because everything, by virtue of having a noisy environment, is perceived as useless information, because there's no way to tell you that you should be paying more attention to something and less to something else, because it's just kind of noise. So I look for, in other words, if there's whiteboards or there's cork boards, desks, I look for the noise, especially on a whiteboard. If something has been written there for like months or years and it hasn't been cleaned up, how am I to perceive if it's useful, timely information that I should pay attention to? Or is it just somebody's just left it up and hasn't done anything with it, right? So this is, by the way, part of the, within a workspace, either on your computer, again, digital or physical, this is all part of the sustain and maintain of any kind of process or workspace. Is just like your garage, you clean it, that's great, but within a month, unless you have a plan to sustain it, it's going to be a gong show again. Same with your kitchen, right? You got to sustain it by putting things away at the end of the day, doing the dishes, etc., right? That's the sustain. So work environment, physical, digital is no different. We have to plan time and energy for the sustain. So that's the jumping in, if it's your tasks, looking at, does this still reflect reality, my priorities for today, my priorities for this week? Are there tasks that are obsolete? If so, why are they still here? Let's clear them. That's noise. That's distraction. That's sending the signal that nothing is important, right? It's because when you start to normalize that, your brain you don't know what to pay attention to. So again, another way of thinking of signal to noise when you're out there driving, of course, the signage on the road, stop signs, those are signs, those are signals for you to stop. And if there was too much noise around that stop sign and it's hard to pay attention, obviously it's not serving its purpose. So we want to have strong signal noise, obviously, in the traffic environment, in the traffic world, within that context. So those are the two things I just want to hop on and share how I kind of navigate if I'm doing a tour of a facility. I think about, I channel beginner's mind. And by the way, as we get older, it's good to harness that beginner's mind. I'm always trying to think through, how my kids think. And, I'll try, if they're into like a game, I want to understand it from their perspective. And as soon as your beginner's mind, of course, when you're first growing up, you're learning to walk and talk and everything. It's just, it's on steroids. We're learning so much, but then we get into our career and we become experts in our domain, and oftentimes we shut off that beginner's mind because we know a lot more. And so why do we stop learning? We cease learning. We cease tapping into that beginner's mind. But it's a really powerful tool to have, and it's something that we should always try to cultivate and develop at whatever age we're at. So beginner's mind, really, really useful, and especially when it comes to looking at your processes, looking at it with a beginner's mind, right? You might know, or your team might know with all the tribal knowledge, how things work when you're looking at a process, but look at it through the lens of a beginner's mind, somebody looking at it for the first time. Is it obvious? Is there a way that you can improve things, leverage visual management, shorten the learning curve, make it more intuitive, make it easier to understand? When you can hone that kind of power and that spirit of attacking your processes and your systems and your workspace, then you are going to be moving in the direction of scalability, because if you think about it, it's going to be easier for people to learn and pick things up. It's going to be easier for people not to make mistakes. It's going to be easier for people to pay attention to the right things, which is going to eliminate, chaos and overwhelm and complexity and, poor work environment as well. So anyways, thought I would hop on and share that, and a couple more days here before we're heading back to the island. So hope that was useful, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Hey, Tim Uchuk here, and real quick, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, if you could take a couple quick seconds to give it a rating, it would be very much appreciated. And secondly, if you're looking for more tools and strategies on how you can crush it in life and business, just head on over to bookwithtim.com, where I've put together a free case study which shows you how to unlock unprecedented freedom today by using the 2 power levers. Just head on over to bookwithtim.com. Until next time, wishing you success and freedom in your business. Cheers.